Hello, how everyone's doing? It's been a while. So, just wanted to let you know, my new album, Short Form Jungle, is finally out. It's more like a compilation of tracks that I did in the last 4 years, and I didn't really mean it like to have. When I made those tracks, it wasn't like with an idea of making an album, and this is mostly what I've always did with my albums. I was just making music and then combining them into an album. So the short form jungle stands for literally like short form jungle, which means that the tracks are not like 7 to 8 minutes long like they used to be in the 90s, but rather just up to 4 minutes long. Some of those tracks were kind of signed by the labels to be released on vinyl, but we all know the situation right now, and dealing with vinyl is not easy, and it sometimes takes ages, and then sometimes these labels have other problems and stuff. So this particular, I'm gonna show you today the track that's called As It Is, which is the first track on the album, and a little bit of history of that is originally and initially it was kind of signed by Kid Lip to probably be released on his Green Bay Vax, but unfortunately ever since the label hasn't released any new vinyl, so I guess they just kind of have maybe some financial problems or so, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Kid Lip since probably 4 years. The funny thing about the track is that it uses the Think break, which I actually sampled from one of the Kid Lip's tunes. I found like the clean track, like clean break on one of his tracks. I can't really remember what track it was, because he's done like hundreds of really good tracks and I can't remember names and stuff. So I just took the break and used it in my track and sent it over to him, and he's like, he really liked the track. And so I'm just gonna concentrate on the track right now. The track is pretty simple. It was one of the first tracks that I've actually done with my newly acquired the hardware setup, because in my life I had like maybe 10 different setups of hardware. I used to have a lot more stuff, and I was into this sort of like wormhole of acquiring gear, and I was buying stuff, and then I was selling stuff. Like I would buy like a scene or mixing desk or whatever. I would make like a selection of maybe 10 tracks, and be like, I want to buy another mixing desk or another compressor or another synthesizer or whatever. And I was broke, I didn't have much money, so I had to sell what I had to buy a new one. So I had many different mixing desks. I've been using like the Soundcraft mixing desk, and then I thought, shit, I want to try Mackie. So I would sell the Soundcraft and then buy a Mackie, and after a while I'd be like, I want to try this 8-track tape recorder. So I would sell the Mackie mixing desk and buy this 8-track cassette recorder with a mixing desk, and then after like making like 20 tracks on that, I would just switch things up again, and it was just like madness. So for the last 4 years, I didn't even touch my setup. All I have right now is just an Akai S1000, a mixing desk, a MicroKORG that I use as a MIDI controller and also as a synthesizer to create my own samples and sound. And then I have this Alesis Quadraverb effect units, and I just recently acquired the Behringer compressor that I try to use on some breaks, but quite honestly I don't even need a compressor. I think a lot of my tracks that I've done without it sounds pretty good. So yeah, now on to the track. So the track is pretty simple. I've used Reason 12 to sequence before moving on to Cubase. So I'm going to show you what the track consists of. First of all, I've got a couple of breaks. The first break is the Sesame Tree break, also known as helicopter break. So the next one is the Think break that I nicked from Kid Lip, but I added some time stress variations to that. An 808 bass. And regarding the bass, I'm pretty much using like maybe 3, maximum 4 808 basses throughout all my tracks. Like it's just made almost one and the same bass, and sometimes I add some different variations. But yeah, I've got maybe like 3 to 4 808 basses that I've been using for the last 4 years on all of my tracks. Then the next one is the tambourine loop. Like, it always adds a bit of a groove that I like. And then this kind of jazzy loop. Just to make clear, I don't really like sampling other people's music. I sometimes do that for textures, but in most cases I create my own samples and implement them as if it's a sample taken from a record, but actually it's my own sample. So I wrote this little loop in Reason, and then I resampled that into Akai and just played it back as a sampled loop. Easy as that. Then there's this chord break that's just basically one, not the break, but chord sample. It's basically just me playing one chord on a Korg and then sampling that back into Akai and playing it back in a track. Also this kind of melodic sequence, I've also used one of the VSTs just to play the part, sampled back into the Akai and then played it back as a sample on top of everything else. And a sci-fi kind of vocal, I've sampled that from some sort of like 70s interview. I don't even remember what exactly was it all about, but I kind of like the idea.
I believe that the world is as the world is, and one must deal with it as one finds it.
And when doing the mixdown, I did a lot of live automation, like playing with panning the helicopter brake left and right and adding some reverb and delay here and there, and everything was done live during the mixdown. So, but to make things more interesting right now, I'm going to play that track back from the vinyl. Well, it's not really like a pressed vinyl, so officially there's not going to be vinyl release, sadly, unless some label would want to release it on a vinyl, which I know would probably take 5 years for that to happen. But that's why I'm releasing it myself, because I don't like having my track sitting on my hard drive forever, and I think that's the best opportunity to release my own music is just to self-release it myself, because like, why not? I mean, I don't want to go through the hassle of like dealing with other labels and then waiting a year, sometimes 2 years for the record to come out. And I just want my tracks, when I make them, I want to release them straight away, because 4 years after, my mindset is so much different from like what it was 4 years ago. And by the time the track comes out on a label, on a vinyl, it's already like old to me. It's not really me anymore anyway. Sometimes I like to listen to my music on vinyl. So I've got a friend who has his own cutting room. He built his own latex cutting machine. And I sometimes cut records for my DJ place or just to have my own music on vinyl. So I cut this record with like 6-track EP from my new album on a vinyl, and I'm gonna play the whole track from the vinyl to give you a better sort of effect of, listening to a track from a vinyl. So have fun, leave a comment if you like it or not, and hopefully see you in the next video.
I believe that the world is as the world is, and one must deal with it as one finds it.
lives themselves have been totally transformed by science and technology. Now we're moving into an area which is a bit more disquieting, I think, because we're moving into the area of invisible technologies, particularly computers, and the whole sort of movement of information about us